Good day and welcome to The State. On The State, we probe the issues and dig the solutions. My name is Gabriel 𝗟𝗡𝗩𝗘 Ankrah. Stay for details.
Nyansa ejian mpenina no anaye gye mpenina no ti baabi biara mpenifo ahia na yesua ya dwene no ne ope nyansa no oben wa ode agudie kira dwene mu agudie ene kofie penu sa adwene nsemu mu odo nsempolo Samwa yetie bobra ekoyie frase efifrito ne ope nyansa no omenkwankwa enu ase ne mpani so ayadwene ne beye nhira ama no ene ne nchirima yada mo ase
da impanyini inso ayadwene jemre na hweyen memninde ne memninde bia anopa no wotwe wo Wesleyan television so.
Welcome back. Let us settle for W Briefs. On W Briefs, what we do is to give you an executive summary for the topic for discussion for the day. This afternoon, we're looking at violence. So violence and vandalism in schools, especially second cycle institutions, appear to become regular or to be having regular occurrences in recent time. Most people have expressed concern about the sort of training students in Ghanaian schools are being offered for their adult life. Not long ago, we had reports of violence in schools like Ankrah Academy, Kumasi Technical Institute, and then Kumasi Anglican Senior High School. Incidents of violence recorded in these schools. Following concerns from these violence that are recorded in mainly at second cycle institutions, stakeholders in the education sector had been hopeful that this canker will cease. But in fact, we have recorded rather more incidents of violence in our schools. Sokode Technical Institute or technical school found in Ho, Sokode Etoy in Ho, Sokode Etoy in Ho had to be temporarily closed recently following a clash between the youth of a neighboring community, Sokode Bogame, with students of the technical school. It was closed temporarily following that clash with the young people in the community. In another incident, 5 students suffered severe injuries, with others suffering wounds after violence erupted between 2 schools in Boku Senior Technical High School and the school itself, Technical Institute. There was to be a peace ceremony brokered by the Ghana Education Service and authorities of the school. In the midst of the truce, the peace process being undergone, the students started pelting stones at each other, throwing bottles at each other. The latest incident involves 2 people, students of Christian Methodist High School in Ankrah. One student was injured severely, where others were wounded. And this also came as a result of a clash with the community, New Aplaku, in the Ga municipality in the greater Ankrah region. The reports have it that a student was alleged to have stolen a phone. A group followed him. They went and went on rampage, pulled down a shop, stabbed somebody with scissors, and the community retaliated. Some Ghanaians have blamed this disruptive and unlawful behavior of students. And I stress of students in second high institutions, they've attributed it to the drastic advancement of technology and other social vices that they are exposed to, and there is the need for swift action to curb those menace. With a recurrent act of violence in our second cycle institutions, we ask that when or how can Ghana strike the balance between academic excellence, having outcomes that are excellent, as well as upholding high morality and discipline in our schools. We probe further. Stay with me. I will introduce my guests.
This is the time, no more delay. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited. This is the time. No more delay. Call a friend to call another, that it is time for the young people to connect right here on WTV. Welcome to Y Connect, where we connect youth to Christ. The future is here.
Welcome back. So on the stage today, we are looking at violence and vandalism in our schools, particularly our second cycle institutions. There have been reports in recent times about student clashes among them. They go for what is called 𝗟𝗓𝗡, or they are sporting activities and they are fighting. One school moves from his or her campus and goes to another school to attack them. And even recently, we've seen harassment during the 𝗟𝗡𝗡 and all those sort of. So these behaviors, the disruptive and unlawful behaviors in our second cycle institutions, we're asking, where do we strike the balance between expecting excellent academic outcomes and then upholding morality and discipline in our schools? It is a worrying trend that we stakeholders in the education sector are worried about, and we are asking so many questions. On the stage this afternoon, we have the experts, as always, people in the space to help us unravel. So we're going to delve into the factors, what triggers this, and the remedies to making sure that we don't have this degenerate into what we cannot contain as a people. Morality and academic excellence is the bridge we are crossing this afternoon. We are joined in the studio by the Director for Pre-Tertiary Education and also General Manager of Schools of the Methodist Church Ghana, the Very Reverend Francis Kojo Innocent. Sir, welcome to the state.
Thank you very much.
We also join online via Zoom by he will join us via phone. He is also an educationist. His name is 𝗟𝗓𝗡 Apia Buedi. 𝗟𝗓𝗡 has also joined us via phone to look at this subject that is of concern to most of us. I will begin with you, Director, sir. From where you sit, I know it's no news. You've seen unruly behaviors, there's unlawful among students, and as a teacher yourself, you've been wondering over the years how to nip this in the bud. A time will come where we'll not even record incidents of violence among students. What is happening recently, the trend? My worry is that we just began a new year, and all we hear is that they are always fighting. And how does it come to you? Is it a worrisome development?
Sure. First of all, I want to greet all viewers and say hi to them. And I also want to say a big hi to all our heads of our institutions and our regional managers and the office. Now to the issue. Honestly, it's a very disturbing issue.
that the young people we are bringing up, the young people we are educating, the young people who will soon be in the university and join the labor force are depicting this behavior. It's very, very disturbing. And as you have said, we need to look at what is bringing all this, what is causing all this, and see the best way to resolve the incident, the spate of violence in our schools.
Great. We really need to arrive at how to nip this in the bud for the purpose and emphasis of the discussion, so that we situate it properly. I want to know the bracket. Second cycle institutions. What is the age? What age are we looking at? Because now we have 10 years and in secondary school, so that we know the people involved in this act that we are talking about.
We are looking at after GHS, and that should be around 14 years upwards to say 20. But let's take note that we have exceptional candidates. We have exceptional young people who are able to cross the BEC bar at an earlier age, sometimes as a result of they receiving some support, academic support, training, by way of training from home. Sometimes others do not start the trip quite early enough, and you have some people around the 20s in senior high school.
20 years.
20 years, and you could have even more. Depends on their background, where they are coming from. Nothing stops them from, attaining to education if they so want to.
I see. We'll go into that. I'm really interested in the age dichotomy. If you are 20 and I'm 11, 10, and we are in the same class, won't you bully me? Won't you beat me? And all that. We'll look at that. Naturally, let me come to you on the phone. So it's a worrying development. It's a worrying trend. How do you feel as an educationist, as a teacher? All you could hear is that your children you are bringing up morally, they always do the opposite. They always engage in one vice or the other. How do you see the trend?
My good brother, good afternoon to your listeners and viewers. I must say that violence in our schools, most importantly our senior high schools, is a worrying trend. And I wouldn't say this is a new development across the length and breadth of this country. You are given a chronology of incidents that have happened just within this year. And I was happy you were mentioning the issues that have happened across almost all the regions in the country, where we have mostly seen students who are secondary school students involved in one violent act or the other. You made mention of the issue at Sokode, the unfortunate incident between two schools in the Boku municipality. The most recent one being a student who it is reported or alleged that he has stolen a colleague student's phone at Christian Methodist here in Ankrah, who virtually has been beaten to pulp. And the most also recent one that happened at Ankrah Academy. I must say that these particular issues are issues of great concern. As an educationist, when I look at issues of violence in the country, I think as stakeholders, we have no business folding our arms and saying that these issues will stop. All these issues must be tackled head on. It is very unfortunate where an environment where students must go study and be able to continue either to the tertiary level or learn a trade, but students get involved in there and they get themselves into violent acts or the other. I think that when all stakeholders come together and we find lasting solutions to these problems, we may not eradicate it altogether, but going forward, we cannot help in ensuring that, if for nothing at all, it is reduced to the very minimum. My initial comment, I would say that if we don't eradicate this act from our schools, it will make the school environment not so conducive for teaching and learning. And if care is not taken, if students are not brutalized and harmed, and teachers alike, most of the things that can happen is that the worst can happen, where a student can be killed because of this violent act. So, per my initial comment, what I would say is that it is very important that all stakeholders come together to ensure that we make the school environment, most importantly, the secondary school environment, very friendly enough for both educators and learners alike.
Okay, yes, I think it's very, very important we do that. I'll come to Director for look at some of the factors that might be triggering this. But are teachers losing their grips on disciplining the children? Because we bring them to the schools for holistic formation, and then just within a snap of a finger, they are out there doing what we brought them for you not to let them do. Why are teachers losing it? Yeah, Nichiren. Before I come to Director, you.
I would not agree with anybody who would say teachers are losing it. You see, teachers work under regulations. We know that education in this country is virtually under a big umbrella. That is the Ministry of Education. We have 8 allied agencies, the Ghana Education Service, the Free SHS Secretariat, and a host of others. So teachers in themselves do not formulate policies and programs that we work with in the senior high schools. We know that over the years, corporal punishment has been taken out from the system in senior high school and even basic level. What I would say is that in as much as we know that there are some excesses where some educators, in their attempt to reform students, they cane them or punish them beyond what they are supposed to do. But I feel that if you put teachers in the classroom and you virtually disarm them, disarming them here means that not giving them the authority to be able to discipline students, it is more or less like you have created an atmosphere where the student knows very well that in as much as there are school rules and regulations that I must obey, the teacher who stands in front of me virtually cannot do anything to me when I go wrong, with reference to the school rules. So I think that teachers are more or less helpless when it comes to disciplining students. The best a teacher can do is to report a student to the appropriate authority, i.e. assistant headmasters, the headmaster or mistress themselves, for actions to be taken. But I tell you, if you go to most senior high schools now, the students themselves know that the teacher cannot punish him or her when he does anything wrong. So I believe that it goes beyond the classroom. We have always been saying this particular adage that charity begins at home. I must say that educators are also responsible in reforming the students. It is not only the academic work that you take care of. You must look at the students' moral values and also the students' values growing up.
Okay.
That is why in most senior high schools, if you come to my place, for example, it's a Methodist school, there is a chaplain. You go to other schools as well, they have chaplains all there, just to modify or mold the students' their moral values. But the fact of the matter is that I must tell you on authority that the power of teachers in disciplining students has diminished completely. Even if they have one, they only have one that they can talk to the students, try and coerce them to do the right thing. Okay. But in terms of disciplining students, so to speak, teachers do not have it now.
They don't have it. Okay, very Reverend Innocent. So let's look at the factors that get the students to be disruptive and behave unruly, resulting in vandalism and other things. What are the factors? Why would they do that? What triggers them?
Thank you very much. We need to understand that the social and economic background of the student more or less influences their behavior. Where students believe that they do not have it, and there's some form of struggling economically, they have this low self-esteem. It gives room for depression, and it could also give room to aggressive behavior in order to pay that attention. And it's something that we need to look at. Aside that, we also need to look at peer pressure. I want to belong to a particular group, or I want to prove myself that, hey, guy, I'm a tough one. Some of these things go a long way to get us into trouble, and that is vandalism, bullying, and that sort of behavior. And if such things are not looked at, we gloss over them, then we are in for trouble. Another cause that we ought to really take note of is this upsurge. It has always been there, but this time round, in the kind of, we have it at a higher rate, drugs and alcoholism. It's so pathetic. Sometimes you see on our TVs people who have taken in some sort of stuff, and they stand where they are sleeping, and you would think that they are in some form of a trance. Now, all these things lead to hooliganism. It will cause people to act. Sometimes mental health of students. You know, mental health is something we need to take more seriously than we do. The state of mind that the person has coming into the school compound, the school environment, the way they behave, we should be alerted into recommending them for counseling. Some people need serious counseling. Others, really need some form of a clinical psychologist to be with, to straighten them up. All these things go a long way to inform their behavior in the school, leading to, and also, when students are not part of decision making, when students are not listened to, they tend to have that destructive nature and would want to rebel at the least provocation. So all these things go into inform that kind of behavior.
Great. You mentioned the drug effects on some of these students. And how about the high numbers of students who are enrolled now? That is making them uncontrollable.
You see, if the school has a culture and the school works towards that culture of dignity, of respect, the culture, the ethos that are imbibed in the school, where a school works towards these things, if they are 2,000, 3,000 plus, you will not have this kind of deviant behavior. But where the school is not so focused on building a true culture, and building culture, you have it in most mission schools. And you look around and you realize that most mission schools are well behaved. I'm not saying they are out of this bracket. Anything could happen. But if we do not keep to the kind of culture that we are building, for example, dignity in labor, respect for one another, and trying to improve in whatever one does, these things with a school, schools, you can name them, who have these things, you realize that hooliganism is not part of their problem. Hooliganism may come in when something has not been addressed for a long time. But for the others where there is no real culture, I tell you, they could be 10. 15, it will still be.
So viewers, this is the state, and this afternoon we are looking at violence in our schools, especially in our second cycle institutions. We've had too many of these violence among students in recent times, and its stakeholders in the education sector should be sitting around the table to find lasting solutions to them. We've looked at factors that might be contributing, some of the causes, drug usage, and they've mentioned peer pressure, economic and other social factors. But for how long? Because when we bring them within the four confines of the school walls, we expect that their moral lives are shaped in a perfect perfectly or holistically. So where do they pick these excesses from, and what can be done to them?
Please let me permit me to cut. There's one important issue that I've not mentioned, and I think is very, very important. When justice is delayed in any area, or there are no clear policies as far as justice or corrective methods of are outlaid. When these things are not clearly outlaid in public, the students or the people, they will try to test the system. Now, I'm drawing attention to something. In the case of Christian Methodist School, you realize that on interaction with students, you realize that students go to school armed, already armed. In reflecting over the issue, I realized that then there is an issue pending which has not been resolved. The community has not been brought in to resolve the issue. Local authorities have not been brought in to resolve the issue. Councillors or whatever have not been brought in. And so the students believe that they will have to handle the matter themselves. But where there is prompt corrective or restorative type of resolutions are brought to bear, you hardly find students trying to solve matters by themselves.
Naturally, let me bring you in on what very Reverend Innocent just mentioned: community partnership. So this is what should be promoted. Again, the incident of a Christian Methodist, what happened? The people, the members of the community who were spoken with, said they were surprised at the aggressiveness of the young people, that they thought some of them were high coming to school, and director just meant some come armed and all that, and the so-called incident to clash with the community, the young people with the community. What happens to partnership? Either to the community protected the school, protected the students. What is causing this breakdown?
Gabriel, thank you very much. And I agree with very Reverend Anderson wholeheartedly. Because what I would say is that you mentioned the two issues about Stokode and Christian Methodist. For the community and student clashing, it is something that happens sometimes, but I feel it is on the high nowadays. Because a school environment should also have partnership with the community as well. Because obviously the school is in the community, and the community in most cases even sees the school as their own property because it's on their land. And in most cases, the community is supposed to partner with the school to ensure that discipline, a congenial atmosphere is created for teaching and learning. So with reference to the Christian Methodist issue, as you have stated, and very Reverend has also confirmed, some of the students come to school armed already. The question one will ask is that, do they have an idea as to what will happen when they go to school? Very Reverend mentioned something. You see, when issues happen in our schools, and the students sometimes see that it has not been resolved swiftly, but it seems that the issue has been swept under the carpet, nothing has been done. It gives the students an impression that when something happens, let's take the law into our own hands. I condemn it in certain terms that students must not take arms to school. But I also encourage school authorities that when issues happen, disciplinary issues happen, they must not only be seen to be solving it, but in actual sense, they must be solving them for students to know that when indisciplinary issues happen, it will be solved to the latter. In any case, students are not allowed to bring phone to school. So how then, in the case of Christian Methodists, that a phone gets to the school, another student steals the phone, and that student is captured outside the school environment and beaten to pulp, using all sorts of arms. Secondly, Reverend mentioned it as well. One of the most important things that causes these distractions and bullying in these schools is substance abuse. I must tell you for a fact that as we speak, a lot of youth are abusing one substance or the other, either being marijuana, either being cocaine, either being tramadol, and a host of others. I was even surprised to learn that there are students who even sniff super glue, all in the name of getting very high. So with such students, they are already in a high spirit of causing violence. So something little interrupts them into getting violent to either their colleague student or the environment. One thing that I think we should also do to ensure a congenial atmosphere between the schools and the community is community engagement. Once in a while, the heads of schools should ensure that they meet community leaders and invite them to the school to help them also raise concerns about what they think can be done to make the school progress.
We'll come to the way forward, and we'll look at some of the segments, including community engagement and all other policy. This and that. We'll go for a quick break. I'll be right back. Then when we're back, we'll look at solutions. Please don't go. Stay.
Mi fie Christian fie mema mi kun aye Christiani na me mofra aye Christian fo mema mi fie aye Christian fie ban papam aye dwumadi a ekoso ewo WTV so ekasa afa ekwaya ye tete ye mofra Ekwanya yebefa so ama yaware ayefe ne yaware edimu efie entitiye anase fie siesie ene efie nkomodie mu nso yenya entwenchen entume to nsa frɛw sɛ hwɛ WTV na nneɛma pa bebree ɛwɔ WTV so enwumpa nkomodie papa nneɛma pa ɛbɛboa me ne omienu ene yɛ fie kɔso ara na hwɛ WTV.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Get ready for a transformational morning experience.
Sorena Shrine is here to build our spirituality, mental and physical well-being.
Through positive, inspiring actions and stories.
We bring you exciting activities and conversations that develop us as a people and as a nation.
We take a look at the trending issues in Ghana and the rest of the world.
And we also review the impacting stories from our local newspapers.
Every morning, we bring you stories of hope, change, and renewal.
We empower you through the Word of God and provoke you to live the purposeful life destined for you.
Join us, Anita Kwaku
and the Reverend Ajika Vincent Agbamanya, Monday to Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we take you on an inspiring journey, live and exclusively on WTV.
You may also join us on Facebook at WTV Ghana and on YouTube at Wesleyan TV Ghana.
Sorry, not Shrine.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Sorena Shrine is brought to you by
Danwell Insurance, Multi-Credit Savings and Loans,
and the Methodist University Ghana.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us on the stage, we are looking at violence in our schools, especially our second cycle institutions, and we are asking so many questions. Stakeholders have been very much worried about the trend of incidents of violence from schools, students among themselves, inter-schools, and now lately communities, young people in the community engaging in attacking the schools and having fights with the students. Factors, so many factors factors can contribute to this. We've looked at the drug usage, moral upbringing, the teacher having a role, parents having a role, economic and social factors. So we are in the studio and we've been helped and joined in the conversation by the Director for Pre-Tertiary Education and General Manager of Schools of the Methodist Church, the very Reverend Francis Kojo Enusin. We're also joined on the phone by 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 Apia Brady. He's also an educationist, and they have been there. They are with the students. They teach them. They form them. Or I should say, they try to form them, because what we are seeing, there's the formation, more needs to be done. But they are telling us what the factors could be and what could be contributing to that. Very Reverend Sir in the studio, we'll look at solutions. But quickly, before we do that, you mentioned mental health of the students. Once upon a time, we had a counseling and support services in our second cycle schools. I was in a Catholic school. We had an Italian Reverend sister. When they take you to Sister Claudette, you are in trouble. We have fought at Ankrah Sports Stadium before, and the whole school was punished. We were whisked in a bus to St. Mary's Collegono to go and apologize for harassing the girls. So counseling was top notch. For 3-4 days, we won't go to class. We were kept in the chapel. They were praying with us, telling us, you don't do that, confess your sins, you don't. So that counseling role was there. Recently, on the campus of University of, was it KNUST?
Right.
Level 400 student alleged to have killed 21-year-old girl. The mental state of our students, how worrying is it? So if in the incident of even the university student, they had gone for counseling for about 5 times, yet the danger could not be more or less detected earlier to Lodi in the death of this thing, in the name of love, that she was the only one who could manage the anger problem with the guy. Counseling in all this role, mental health.
Thank you very much. It's a very serious incident, and as a parent, I'm so saddened for what happened. However, it's an eye-opener also for all parents and educational staff. You see, we, in some places, and thankfully, GS now has taken up the issue of having counselors in schools very seriously. What is next and what's most important is giving them the resources to perform. And by resources, we need to give them an office. We need to provide them with the logistics that would make counseling very relevant to the students. Now, where you have a student with anger issues, and right from, say, JHS, or let's say the SHS, our curriculum does not teach us the way to handle anger issues. Our curriculum is devoid of teaching people how to resolve issues without going to the police station or other places. We are bound to carry that kind of behavior through. You may at times try to control, but where we have inculcated dealing with anger issues in our curriculum, I assure you it will go a long way to impact the life of the kind of students. We call it, life lessons, sort of. I'll come up with a name. So that it's important to have some of these things in our curriculum, to teach them life lessons that will help them as they go on.
I was going to ask that, then can we also factor in conflict resolution?
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Conflict resolution. Even at one point or the other in the senior high school curriculum. So that it's not a matter of only book studying academic things, but how to live life and make meaning out of life, how to be useful to society. So These are things I believe GS should consider. With the new curriculum, we are allowed to have 1 or 2 subjects put in there by the school. I hope schools will take up this cue and put in things that will really form holistic training of the students. So counseling is very relevant, especially when the counselor is fully resourced and encouraged to undertake his responsibilities.
I strongly agree, because but for counseling, we knew some of our colleagues who were on drugs. We knew they had schedules with the counseling department.
Right.
They used to go there. Everybody knew about them, and we were all trying to help. So I agree perfectly that our counseling unit should be well resourced, and then we are. I'm sure we'll arrive at a place where we can minimize.
Exactly.
Yes, because one is a human institution.
Yes.
0 is not realistic.
No.
But we can minimize
it.
Yes, minimize it to its barest minimum. Nchiri, let me come to you. So, what are the remedies? How do we remedy this negative development, as it were?
Yeah, Gabriel, thank you so much. And once again, I side strongly with very reverend that the guidance and counseling coordinator, their offices must be strongly resourced, because if the offices are resourced very well, a lot of students who are involved in this violent act will be sent there and they'll come out better people. I also agree that in as much as I don't believe in treating students in a much more high-handed manner, we must also institutionalize and regularize punishment by teachers to students. For this, I mean that the teachers will have control and be given the backing in punishing students. If for nothing at all, if the teachers themselves are not allowed to even punish the student, their recommendations about a student's behavior must be taken seriously. In doing so, the students will know that if they misbehave and the teacher sees them, if he can punish them directly, he will have a lot of say when it comes to meting out punishment to such students. Because prior to this, teachers have no say in terms of disciplining students. There is also one thing that we must look at strongly. In every school now, most importantly, the senior high schools, there is the office of the Dean of Discipline. I think it came about 2 or 3 years ago, where the Dean of Discipline chairs what you call the disciplinary committee. And this committee has some members of school management on it and some selected teachers. It is more or less like a fact-finding committee, where if there is any issue of indiscipline, the perpetrator and the victim alike are all brought there. One thing we can also do strongly to ensure that students desist from violent acts is giving this particular committee the chance to actualize their recommendations. In most cases, when students appear before the disciplinary committee, the committee secretary will write out their recommendations and send it to school management. And it's now incumbent on the school management to act on it. In most cases, such recommendations are not acted upon. One thing too that can help to ensure that discipline is instilled in school is when politicians, religious leaders, and community leaders allow the school to be able to met out disciplinary actions. I'm saying this because there are some cases where students will engage in acts of indiscipline. He or she will go through the process. And the moment recommendation is meted out and is actualized, you will see political leaders calling the school head. You will see sometimes big and respectable religious leaders calling the head. And sometimes even chiefs calling the head, trying to say that tamper justice with mercy. You see, when we do all these things, other students will see that, let's say student A has committed this act of violence. Instead of he, for example, being demonized or being expelled from the school, he has gone and he is back. When that happens, the name of the school is more or less put into disrepute. Because the student now feels that even if I misbehave, there is a bigger authority beyond the headmaster, beyond the teacher, that can bring me back. We must allow the process to go on. Because the moment students get to know that more or less the school itself is vulnerable, it is vulnerable to religious leaders, it is vulnerable to political leaders and chiefs. It happens that people will commit those violent acts and run to such people, and those acts will go scot-free. The next thing I also say is that the school should have a good working relationship with the community. Excuse me, say, no school can be hanging in the air and operating in a vacuum or operating in isolation. Every school is in the community. There are some schools whereby we have boarding house, but it can't accommodate all the students. Students go around and rent hostels around the school. One thing is that most students who stay in those hostels sometimes commit a lot of violent acts and indisciplined acts. But if there is a strong link between the school and the community members can easily come to the school and report these things to the school. So I think that occasionally the school must organize forums, see community leaders, and invite them and seek their opinion what can be done to ensure that the school environment and the community is violence-free, so that teaching and learning can go on very, very well.
Thank you, 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓. Very Reverend, finally, your final words on the way forward.
Thank you very much. I thank my brother 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 out there for all the comments he's made. Very, very true, and must be taken serious. I would want to shout out to all teachers. You are doing a great job, and I know you can do more. If we decide to stand aloof because we are vulnerable ourselves, in recent times, some students do attack teachers, harm them, cause colossal damage to parts of their bodies. But if we stand aloof and ignore these recalcitrant students without helping them, it will come back to us. At the same time, I am praying that teachers need to be trained. We have experts in all areas. Teachers really need training to be prepared for such situations in order to keep this kind of thing and to prepare the students. They also need support, without which there will be no motivation for them to keep up. There's one Ghana, and we must go all out to help our nation Ghana prepare our students.
With time just racing and pacing against that, I wanted to look at the issue of modeling, role modeling. If we have violence, if we had confrontations in our legislature like we've witnessed in time past, do we really model this thing for our students? Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on the show. We've had 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓, Apia Buedi, an educationist, joining us, and in the studio, he is the Director for Pre-Tertiary Education and General Manager of Schools in the Methodist Church in Ghana, the very Reverend Francis Kojo Innocent, doing wonderful for it. So students deserve to feel safe and supported in school. We must take action to end violence so that we make sure they have positive climate to study. Every student deserves safety and to be supported. Thank you very much, you viewers, for joining us. Thank you very much, production team. Remember, the month of March is the month of our motherland. Keep watching WTV. You see us get close to our motherland, Ghana, and bring you along. My name is Gabriel to Ankrah. Join us on Wednesday. Goodbye.